Discover the heartwarming moment a nurse's unexpected blind date changed a CEO's life forever. On a chilly Friday night in her small Midwestern town, Sarah sat at the diner, her coat pulled tight against the cold, heart pounding as she awaited the arrival of a stranger. "You'll love him, I promise," her sister had chirped, excitement bubbling in every word. Sarah felt the warm glow of the diner's neon lights wrap around her, but her heart was heavy with the weight of her day-long shifts at the hospital, sick patients, and mounting stress. Could tonight really be different? The door swung open. A rush of icy wind swept through, and in walked Jake, a breath of fresh air in a tailored suit that contrasted sharply with the cozy diner atmosphere. He was tall, handsome, with a hint of nervous energy. As their eyes met, an unfamiliar spark flickered between them, igniting hope in Sarah's chest. They settled into their booth, and the comforting aroma of burgers and fries filled the air. Laughter soon followed, as stories of their childhoods unfolded. "I used to build treehouses when I was a kid," Jake admitted, a boyish smile spreading across his face. "I thought I'd be a carpenter forever." Sarah laughed, her heart warming. She shared her memories, her passion for nursing, and how being part of her community fueled her spirit. Yet, as delightful as their connection felt, a cloud loomed overhead. Jake's polished exterior hid a storm brewing inside. "I run a tech company now," he said, his voice faltering. "My family has these big expectations. It's all about profit. Sometimes I feel like I'm losing myself." Sarah's heart went out to him. She recognized the internal struggle of a man caught between the gears of ambition and the values that had been taught to him. Just then, Sarah shared the news of a critical community initiative aimed at supporting underprivileged children. "We need to give them a chance," she said, eyes brightening with passion. "They deserve better." Jake's face fell, a bitter conflict brewing behind his kind eyes. Sarah noticed the shift, the unease that tethered them to their own diverging paths, hers grounded in altruism, his tangled in corporate obligations. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. What's the use of success if it doesn't help others?" Sarah challenged gently but firmly. The atmosphere swirled with intensity, each word laced with truth. "We have to decide what kind of impact we want to leave behind." Jake felt her words settle into his heart like a stone dropped in water, creating ripples of deep reflection. He was inspired yet torn, and for every step towards her values, his family's expectations yanked him back. As the evening pressed on, their connection deepened, but so did their tension. Jake, in conflict with his own dreams, found himself increasingly captivated by Sarah's unwavering commitment to community. Two worlds colliding, the ambition of a CEO and the compassion of a nurse, both searching for purpose in the chaos. Just when hope started to shimmer through their doubts, Jake took a deep breath, capturing Sarah with a steady gaze. "What if we did something together? What if I could help with the program?" Hope fluttered in Sarah's chest, yet doubts surged within her mind. Could he truly balance profit and purpose? As they looked into each other's eyes, the question hung thick in the air: would their growing feelings be strong enough to bridge the gap between ambition and responsibility? Sarah's heart raced at Jake's suggestion. The very thought of joining forces filled her with a burst of optimism, but uncertainty curled tightly in her stomach. "You really think you can help?" she asked, trying to mask her skepticism with a hopeful smile. "I want to," Jake replied, leaning closer, the heat of his sincerity almost palpable. "I've been so consumed by the expectations of my family and my company that I forgot why I wanted to succeed in the first place." Sarah's gaze softened. She could see the pain behind his ambition, the conflict that emerged from wanting to do good while feeling trapped by duty. "It's not an easy balance," she said quietly. "But if you want to try, we can figure it out together." A flicker of excitement crossed Jake's face. Then let us make a plan. Let us outline how my skills can help your initiative. We could raise sponsorships, leverage technology. One could connect you with people who can make a difference. His enthusiasm brightened the booth, tension drifting away like fog in the sunlight. They talked, voices rising and falling, suddenly animated by new possibilities. Ideas flowed, ways to seek out donations, to create community events that tied in fun with fundraising. It felt exhilarating to brainstorm with someone who understood. As they scribbled notes on the diner's paper napkin, the early stirrings of a partnership blossomed between them. But just as Sarah felt herself fully embracing the moment, a shiver of doubt crept back in. "Jake," she said, her tone serious once more, "I need you to understand. This isn't just about numbers or publicity for you. This is about kids' lives. It has to come from a place of genuine care." He nodded slowly, the flicker of excitement dimming slightly as her words sank in. "I know. I promise I'll take this seriously. I've lost sight of what truly matters." A comfortable silence settled between them, accompanied by the clinking dishes and laughter of other diners. Sarah's heart felt full, pulsating with both hope and fear. Could they really align their worlds, intertwining Jake's corporate edge with her heartfelt mission? They had come so far in just a few hours, and both sensed that the night was far from over. As they reviewed their notes, Jake looked up. "So, what about tomorrow?" he asked, a twinkle in his eye. "I'd love to meet the kids. Get to know what we're fighting for." A rush of warmth surged through Sarah. "Really? You'd meet them?" "Absolutely. If I'm going to help, I need to see the faces behind the mission." For the first time, Sarah felt a thread of faith weaving through her doubts. Perhaps this was the turning point she had hoped for. But just then, the diner's door swung open again, letting in another gust of cold air and a group of loud teenagers. The cheerful noise broke their intimacy, reminding Sarah that they were still just two people in a crowded diner, navigating their own overwhelming lives. As laughter erupted around them, Sarah caught sight of Jake's pensive expression. "Are you okay?" she asked, concern edging her voice. "I am," he assured her, but there was a shadow in his eyes. "Just thinking about all the things that come next, the pressures I'll have to manage." "Jake," she began softly, "if you truly want to make an impact, you might have to face those pressures head-on." "I know," he sighed, running a hand through his hair. "But what if they pull me back in? What if I'm not strong enough to break free?" Sarah's heart ached for him. They both knew the path ahead was fraught with hurdles. As doubt crept back in, she placed a comforting hand on his. "You won't know unless you try." Jake looked down at their hands before lifting his gaze to meet hers. "Then let us promise to keep each other accountable. No matter what happens, let us not lose sight of why we're doing this." "Deal," Sarah smiled, her heart pounding once more, but this time from the exhilaration of promise and partnership. They were on the precipice of change, and yet, the road ahead remained unsure. As they wrapped up their meal, laughter still ringing in the air, the first flickers of dawn peeped through the diner windows, hinting at renewal. But as they left, an unsettling thought echoed in Sarah's mind. Was a partnership like theirs strong enough to withstand the trials ahead? Little did they know, life was about to test the very foundations of their budding connection. The morning sun broke through the clouds, flooding the streets with golden light as Sarah and Jake stepped outside the diner. The chill of the early hour contrasted sharply with the warmth blooming inside her. She could feel the potential of their collaboration buzzing like electricity between them. "Okay," Jake said, rummaging in his pockets for his phone. "Let's set things in motion. I want to be at the center of your next community meeting." "When do they usually happen?" "Well, we meet on Saturdays at the community center," Sarah replied, trying to tamp down her excitement. The thought of Jake being there brought a mix of hope and anxiety. "We can discuss how you might address them. They care about someone genuine stepping into their lives." Jake's eyes brightened. "I want to be that someone. But He hesitated, the weight of his responsibilities settling back onto his shoulders. I'll have to juggle my time between this and work. My schedule is pretty packed. What do you mean? Sarah asked, her brow furrowing. Will you be able to commit? He looked away, biting his lip. I will. I just have to navigate some corporate politics. You know how it is. Yeah, I get it. A flicker of worry danced across Sarah's heart. She didn't want his corporate obligations to overshadow their mission. But remember, this isn't just a project for you, Jake. This is about real lives. I won't forget, he insisted, turning to face her. But I need you to promise that you'll keep me centered. I can lose sight of things when I'm caught up in meetings and numbers. Definitely. The sincerity in that moment felt like an anchor, grounding her in the whirlwind they were embarking on. They walked to Sarah's car, intention palpable in the air. Just as they approached, a group of neighborhood kids started playing nearby, their laughter ringing out like music. Jake paused, eyes drawn to them as they chased each other around a patch of grass. Look at them, he said, smiling softly. Their joy is so infectious. To think I can help take care of them is overwhelming. A warmth spread through Sarah. And you will help. This partnership has potential beyond our plans. It could change lives. Jake turned to her, his expression earnest. You really believe that? I have to, she said. If I don't believe in this, how can I ask them to? He nodded, deep in thought, the shadow of his earlier trepidation lingering. Yet, for every hint of doubt, there was a brighter glimmer of resolve. As Sarah drove them toward the community center, they brainstormed ideas together: fundraising events, sponsorships, partnerships with local businesses. Excitement bubbled in the car, and laughter soon filled the space as they tossed around wild concepts. But every laugh was underpinned by the seriousness of their mission, the weight of their shared goal pulsed between them. Jake's phone buzzed, breaking their conversation. He frowned as he glanced at the screen. I should take this, he said, voice laced with hesitation. Of course, Sarah replied, trying to disguise the sudden pit in her stomach. The moment felt fragile, like a glass teetering at the edge of a table. As he stepped away to take the call, she watched him from the car, alarmed by the sudden change in his demeanor. His face tensed, eyebrows knitting together. What was going on behind that corporate mask? Sarah held her breath, waiting for him to return, a creeping sense of foreboding settling in the back of her mind. When he came back, the lightness had faded from his smile. That was my father's office, he said, eyes darkening. Some issues have come up with the deal I've been working on. I need to handle it. Now? Sarah asked, heart sinking. I mean, what does this mean for us, for the kids? I'll still make it work. I promise. But she could see uncertainty dancing in his gaze, uncertainty that mirrored her own fears. I just might need to manage things differently than I planned. I understand, Sarah said softly, but doubt crept in. Do what you have to, just don't lose sight of why we started. He nodded, commitment evident but buried under layers of stress. I won tea. But as he glanced down at his phone, she wondered if life was going to push them harder than either of them anticipated. As they pulled into the community center parking lot, tension thrummed between them like a live wire. Could they really carve a path through the obstacles waiting ahead? And how deep could their connection run before the pressures of their lives pulled them apart? Before she could voice her concerns, the roar of laughter from the kids burst through her thoughts, offering a glimpse of hope. But would that hope be enough when the real challenges arrived? The atmosphere in the community center was warm yet charged with anticipation. Sarah parked and took a deep breath, willing her heart to settle. She glanced at Jake, who was staring at his phone again, his expression unreadable. The weight had shifted, and she feared the upcoming meeting wouldn't bring the excitement they had envisioned. Let us make a good impression, Sarah said, turning to him. These people need to know you genuinely care. Jake nodded slowly, but his eyes still seemed distant, lost in thought. As they walked inside, the familiar scent of coffee and the soft chatter of community members greeted them. Tables adorned with colorful flyers and posters sprawled across the room, while chairs were scattered closely, inviting conversation. Sarah felt an instant connection to the space. It had this home-like quality, filled with laughter and shared stories. Once they settled at a table, Sarah glanced around. She spotted Miss Johnson, an elderly lady known for her delicious pies, and a group of teenagers animatedly discussing a project they wanted to start. This was what they had been fighting for. Before she could organize her thoughts, the meeting kicked off. Sarah did the usual introductions, her voice steady as she shared their vision for the community's improvement. With each word, her passion flowed, reminding her of the potential impact they could make. Jake's gaze softened as he watched her speak, though the tension was still heavy in his eyes. "And now," Sarah said, giving Jake a gentle nudge, "I'd like you all to meet Jake, who is eager to hear your thoughts and ideas." He stood, and for a moment, all eyes were on him. Sarah held her breath. Would he rise to the occasion? "Thanks, Sarah," Jake began, clearing his throat. His voice was steady, but she could sense the strain beneath the surface. "I'm truly excited to be here. This isn't just a project for me, it's about all of us coming together to make a difference in our community." The words hung in the air, uncertainty mingled with hope. Some faces softened, others remained skeptical. He stepped forward, letting the hesitant notes drop from his voice. "I see the potential in this community, potential we can realize together. I genuinely want to know the challenges you're facing." The quieter members began to speak up, sharing their struggles with underfunded programs and the need for more resources for the kids. Jake leaned in, his brow furrowing as he listened intently. For a moment, Sarah felt the tension in his shoulders ease, then, as if a dam had broken, the room erupted with ideas and stories of hope, dreams, and resilience. Jake started taking notes, his focus unwavering. For the first time, he felt present, really present in this space. But just as the energy began to build, Jake's phone buzzed emphatically on the table, disrupting the flow. The room fell silent, all eyes darting to the device flashing on screen. His expression tightened again, reminding Sarah of that not-so-distant tension that had marred their morning. He sighed, glancing at the screen before looking back at the group. "I'll need to take this. I'm really sorry." As he stood and stepped outside, Sarah felt that familiar pit in her stomach return. She wanted to scream at the universe, to demand that this challenge not come between them and their mission. She willed her heart to calm, focusing instead on the conversations happening around her. The kids excitedly shared their ideas for programs, tutoring, sports leagues, art classes. The warmth of community began to blanket her fears. Just then, Miss Johnson grabbed her arm gently, pulling Sarah's thoughts back to the moment. "Sweetie," she said with a kind smile, "you're doing a wonderful job. Don't let anything shake that confidence." Sarah smiled back, bolstered by the support. Yet, in her heart, she couldn't shake that creeping doubt. Was Jake going to be okay? Would he truly commit to the dream they had ignited together? Before she could get lost in her thoughts, the door swung open, and Jake stepped back in, his face taut with resolve. "I'm back. I'll make this work," he said, determination etched into his features. But as he began to speak, the room grew silent again, and Sarah felt the electricity of his earlier excitement begin to fade once more. Could they really overcome these obstacles together? Would that spark they had found just moments ago withstand the pressures of their lives? As voices filled the room with renewed enthusiasm, she couldn't help but wonder if this was the moment they were either meant to redefine themselves or if it would all slip through their fingers like grains of sand. The chatter resumed, but Sarah couldn't shake off the heaviness settling back into the atmosphere. Jake's confident words felt forced now, like he was trying to stamp out a fire that was flickering instead of blazing. She watched him closely, unsure whether to step in or let him navigate the situation. "Let's talk about how we can come together to make this community better," Jake said again, trying to sound upbeat. But the energy wasn't quite there. "Yeah, what about the playground? A teenager piped up, his voice youthful and passionate. It needs repairs. Kids can't even play there without getting hurt. A chorus of agreement followed. Jake jotted down notes, but his brow remained furrowed. Sarah could see the wheels in his head spinning, the pressure of management back home weighing on him. Absolutely, Jake responded, his voice steady, but less assured. We can definitely look into that. But Sarah noticed he was distracted, glancing at his phone again, worry creeping back into his features. When Jake stole another glance at the screen, Sarah felt a lump rise in her throat. Was he going to let them down? But then another voice broke through, pulling her from her thoughts. Miss Johnson, your pies. Called one of the teens. Let us have a bake-off. The mention of the beloved pies sent ripples of excitement through the room. Miss Johnson beamed, her face lighting up like it used to when she baked her favorite treats. Suddenly, laughter filled the air. Intrigued, Sarah leaned into the conversation, fueled with urgency to seize the moment. What if we held this bake-off as part of an event to raise funds? We could gather everyone to celebrate and rally around the playground. Sarah felt hope bloom as several members nodded, enthusiasm building once more. Jake's gaze flicked to her, momentarily breaking through his fog. There was a glimmer of gratitude in his eyes, affirming he needed her presence, her energy. Let us do it. He said, his voice rising again with newfound vigor. It'll be a great way to bring in funds and community spirit. As they dove into planning, Sarah sensed their connection reigniting. She shared ideas for themes, decorations, and even a talent show to accompany the bake-off. The participants environmentally fused into a team effort, each voice stitching the fabric of a shared dream. But in the back of her mind was the constant hum of uncertainty about Jake's commitments, a pendulum swinging between hope and fear. Somehow, he seemed more engaged, more there than he had been moments before. When he held up the pencil smudged with notes, Sarah saw something bright flicker in his expression. Let us set the date for next month, Jake suggested, voice full of the confidence they needed. The teens erupted in applause, Miss Johnson chuckling warmly as she added, make sure to include my pies, or I want tea show. As laughter echoed and hope filled the room, Sarah felt her heart swell. There was something magical about community. And amidst the laughter, she caught Jake's eye as he smiled. But just as quickly as the moment surged, a sharp ding cut through the bliss and notification on Jake's phone. His expression hardened, any warmth that had just blossomed now snuffed out, replaced by tension. She watched as he glanced at the screen a second too long, a stern conversation simmering in the silence. What's wrong? Sarah asked, her voice laced with concern. He hesitated, biting his lip. I need to take this. It's work. Just give me a sec. Sarah nodded, but the corners of her heart pulled down. As Jake stepped out again, the community's chatter grew quieter, eyes casting sideways. The previous energy shifted, uncertainty creeping back in. Could they really keep this momentum? Would Jake return, or would he again let himself be pulled away? Sarah took a deep breath as worries shadowed her thoughts, and she knew she had to fortify her resilience. With uncertainty now swirling once more around her, she turned to Miss Johnson, who squeezed her hand reassuringly. Every mountain has its valleys, dear. He'll come through, just you wait. But Sarah's heart wondered, what path would Jake choose to climb? And would she be beside him when he did? As the door swung shut behind Jake, Sarah's heart sank. She looked around at the faces in the room, now tinged with uncertainty. The laughter had faded, and those moments of hope were dangling precariously in the air, like a kite caught in a sudden gust. Miss Johnson stepped forward, her eyes sparkling with determination despite the shift in mood. All right everyone, how about we start brainstorming some ideas for this bake-off while we wait? We can't let a little hiccup slow us down. Her spirit was contagious, and slowly but surely, murmurs of enthusiasm returned. Sarah felt a flicker of hope reignite as she watched Miss Johnson craftily divide the group into teams, her own enthusiastic chatter lifting the atmosphere bit by bit. Who wants to create the best pie? A girl asked, her own eyes wide with excitement. I've got a secret family recipe. Another chimed in, matching the energy. Sarah couldn't help the smile that broke through her worries. Maybe they could shift focus for a while, channel that anxiety into something constructive. But even as laughter returned, she kept glancing at the door, hoping for Jake's return. She wanted to talk to him, to reassure him that they could handle this together. Couldn't they? A shadow crossed her mind, and it gnawed at her. What if this was all just a distraction? Did Jake even want to be a part of the community anymore? Shaking it off, she joined in, jotting down creative ideas for the contest. Then, a figure appeared in the doorway. Jake. But he wasn't alone. He emerged with a look that mirrored the confusion and concern of the community, his features taut as if he were carrying the weight of several worlds on his shoulders. Hey, everyone, he said, but his voice lacked its usual buoyancy. There was a weight behind it now, an edge that hadn't been there before. Sarah's stomach churned. Everything okay? She asked, trying to decode the mask he wore. Jake hesitated, glancing back at the door, and then the room, before taking a deep breath. I just spoke with my boss. He's concerned about our project deadlines. They're asking for an update by next week. He said we're behind schedule. A collective intake of breath swept through the group. Sarah felt her chest tighten. But we're just getting started with the bake-off and the playground project. Jake chewed on his lip, clearly torn. I know, but if we don't get this report done, I'll be pulled from this project. I can't let that happen. His urgency echoed through the room, and with each word, the air thickened. Just when they thought they had grasped a moment of connection, here it was again, a barrier rising between them like a mountain. Jake, we can find another way, Sarah offered, her voice trembling slightly but firm. You don't have to choose one over the other. We're a team, right? But in his eyes, she saw doubt. The tension flickered, and for a moment, it felt like the chaos of two worlds colliding. I want to, Sarah. I do. But I have responsibilities, and the murmurs of agreement were replaced by a suffocating silence. Everyone could feel the chasm growing, one foot in the community, another in corporate demands. Just as Sarah was about to speak again, the phone in Jake's pocket buzzed another message. He lifted the device hesitantly, and she could see the last remnants of hope slip away as he read it. Unless he started, glancing at her with an idea dawning. What if we structured the reporting around the bake-off? We could incorporate our plans into the work deadline. Kill two birds with one stone. His faltering voice clutched at Sarah's heartstrings. Hope flared again, but she couldn't help the doubt creeping in. They needed to decide quickly, but was it even possible to save their project and maintain the spirit of community? What if we do it together, but it requires sacrifices from me? He said, eyes locking onto her own, searching for understanding. Sarah could feel her heart racing. Would they reach a solution or find themselves drifting apart again? Decisions loomed, but she realized, they both had to make choices. Are we going to choose to climb together? She asked softly, hope balanced on a tightrope. Jake looked out at the faces in the room, then back to her. The tension stretched the moment thin. Would he find a way? Jake's eyes lingered on Sarah, and for just an instant, time stood still. The uncertainty swirling around them felt tangible, a heavy fog draping itself over the team. Then, as he looked around at the faces watching him, a flicker of determination ignited within him. Okay, let us do it. Let us figure this out together, he proclaimed, his voice gaining strength. We can make the bake-off a part of our report. We can show the fun side of this community project. A ripple of relief surged across the room, and Sarah's heart swelled. It was a small victory, but it felt monumental. Yes. We can highlight how the community engagement affects our project's success. It's about more than just the numbers, she said, hoping her excitement was contagious. Yes. And we could document the entire process. Pictures, recipes, testimonials. Someone shouted from the back, and it felt like the energy was bouncing around, lighting fires in everyone's hearts. Right. Jake seized the momentum. We can showcase how working together fosters relationships, build excitement for the playground. It's all part of the same mission. The buzz in the room grew louder, each person finding their role in this joint effort. Sarah smiled at Jake, feeling the warmth between them rekindle, a light breaking through the shadows that had lingered. It felt good to see him re-engaged, to know they weren't giving up on the project or each other, but even as ideas flowed, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that this moment was precarious. Would it last? Could they successfully fuse the worlds they were straddling, corporate expectations and community spirit, without losing themselves in the process? As the laughter returned and the sounds of planning filled the room, she caught sight of Miss Johnson's proud expression and the eagerness of the kids ready to dive into the bake-off. All around them, hope was recharging. Okay, how about we meet tomorrow to split up the tasks? Suggested Miss Johnson, clapping her hands for attention. We'll start collecting recipes and get the marketing materials ready for the bake-off announcement. I'll take care of the social media. Another voice chimed. I can bake a few test pies tonight. A girl volunteered, raising her hand high. The energy spun in dizzying patterns, like a dance. Everyone, let us remember to keep things simple but fun, Jake added, his tone steadying them. This is about togetherness, after all. Sarah watched him as he spoke, admiration swelling in her chest. It felt so right. Together they could tackle any challenges, provide each other strength, and somehow weave through the complexities. But underlying it all was the knowledge that real life went beyond just their make-believe community project. Suddenly, her thoughts were jolted away from the camaraderie as her phone buzzed in her pocket. Curiosity threaded through her concern. Could it be something about her own plans for the future? Sarah reached for it, half expecting a meaningless update, but as she glanced at the screen, she felt her heart drop. It was a message from her college mentor, someone who had always encouraged her to take risks, to reach for more. Sarah, I heard about your community work. Would love to discuss potential opportunities for you in my network. Call me when you can. I think it could help deepen your career. The tension returned to her chest, this time not about Jake but about herself. Opportunity was knocking, but did she even want to answer? Would pursuing her career mean stepping away from this moment, from Jake, from the community that was beginning to feel like home? The bake-off plans continued swirling around her, yet Sarah's mind began to race in another direction, forcing her to choose. What if taking a chance on her career meant risking everything they were building together? A knot formed in her throat. Sarah. Jake's voice interrupted her thoughts, pulling her back as he noticed the change in her demeanor. You okay? His concern wrapped around her like a blanket, but just as she opened her mouth to respond, the fire alarm blared through the building, piercing the air and scattering their plans. Everyone jumped up, their excitement turned to confusion, and Sarah felt the adrenaline rush through her, merging her inner turmoil with the chaos around. Jake grabbed her hand, and they moved together toward the door. As they exited into the cool evening air, Sarah glanced back at the crowd, each face a blend of excitement and worry. Would they be able to get everything done? Would she be able to decide what path to take? In that moment, as the tension mounted yet again, Sarah felt neither fear nor certainty. Instead, she was filled with the bittersweet taste of what lay ahead. Let us stick together. No matter what happens next, Jake said softly, squeezing her hand, and for a second, Sarah believed it. But the question lingered, would they truly find a balance, or were they destined to drift apart? The cool evening air wrapped around them, a welcome relief after the chaos indoors. As people began to gather in clusters, murmurs filled the space, voices mixing with the distant sound of the fire truck siren. Sarah felt the uncertainty in her gut, but there was something grounding in the way Jake held her hand. Let us take a walk, he suggested, leading her away from the gathering crowd. They strolled along the tree-lined path, the shadows growing deeper as the sun dipped below the horizon. Are you really okay? Jake asked, his brow creased with genuine concern. You seemed a little off back there. Sarah remained silent for a moment, gathering her thoughts. How could she explain the whirlwind in her heart? How could she lay bare the confusion without breaking the hope that had just begun to blossom between them? It's just this opportunity, she finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. It's tempting. But it feels so soon. With this project, everything we're building. I understand, he replied softly. But what if it's a chance for something bigger? You've worked so hard for your career. His words hung in the air, both reassuring and unsettling. She squeezed his hand tighter, searching his eyes for signs of doubt, but all she found was unwavering support. But what if that bigger opportunity pulls me away from here? From you? From what we're doing? Jake stopped walking, turning to face her fully. A streetlight flickered above them, casting a warm glow on their faces. Sarah, I want you to chase your dreams, he said earnestly. You deserve every chance to grow and succeed. But I don't want to hold you back either. This project means a lot to me, too. I just don't know if I can have both, she interrupted, her voice cracking. What if I'm not strong enough to balance it? He took a step closer, and she could feel the steadiness in his presence, the way he made her feel anchored even amid her swirling doubts. You are stronger than you think. But you have to choose for yourself. I can't decide for you, and I don't want to. The truth is, the path ahead will never be clear. The only thing we have is now this moment. He paused, studying her face. I believe in you, even if you don't believe in yourself right now. But it has to be your decision. Just remember, no matter what you choose, I'll be here. Tears prickled at the corners of her eyes. His words gave her strength, but they also sparked the frustration bubbling inside her. She didn't want to feel lost, she wanted to feel free. They resumed walking, the silence between them heavy but comforting. What if she decided to answer the call from her mentor? What if she said yes to a new chapter that might mean leaving behind all that was comforting and familiar? As they rounded the corner, Sarah noticed Miss Johnson talking to a group of children, their faces flushed with excitement as they rallied around the bake-off idea. It was contagious, and for an instant, everything felt possible again. Hey, let us get back to them, Jake suggested. I want to see the kids' faces when we tell them about the bake-off. And I want to help them get everything ready, Sarah added, her heart starting to beat with purpose again. Maybe there was a way to blend both worlds after all, to be a part of this community while also embracing her future. But just then, Sarah's phone buzzed again, vibrating against her palm. She hesitated before looking down another message from her mentor. This time it felt heavier, more demanding. I need to respond. I should make my choice. Jake leaned across, brushing a stray hair behind her ear. Whatever you decide, it'll be the right choice. Just trust yourself. As Sarah took a deep breath, torn between two worlds, she felt the weight of their intertwined future hang in the air. Are we going to be okay? She asked quietly, her heart racing with uncertainty. Whatever it takes, he replied firmly, his eyes locked onto hers. We'll figure it out together, I promise. But in the shadows of the uncertainty, a new question emerged: how would they navigate the road ahead when everything they built felt precarious? Sarah's heart raced as she stared at her phone, the screen glowing back with her mentor's message. The words blurred for a second, the weight of the decision pressing heavily on her chest. How could one text change everything? Are you okay? Jake's voice pulled her from the daze. She could see the worry in his expression, and she forced a smile, though it felt strained. Yeah, just deciding, she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. He took a step back, giving her space. You don't have to rush into anything. Maybe take a moment. She appreciated his patience, but it only heightened the storm of emotions swirling inside. The promise of the bake-off, the laughter of children, and Jake's unwavering support felt like lifelines in a sea of uncertainty. But the path her mentor was offering, new places, new faces, limitless potential, tempted her like a siren's call. "Can I tell you something about that text?" Sarah said, her brow furrowed as she began to walk again. "Of course. Talk to me. It's an offer to work on this huge project at a prestigious firm. It could launch my career." Jake's expression shifted from concern to something deeper, understanding, perhaps a hint of disappointment mixed with pride. "That's incredible. But I'd have to move. Leave everything behind. I just started feeling like I had it all here." Her voice cracked again. "I don't want to give up on us or the project we've been building together. But part of me feels like this is what I've been waiting for." He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I know the feeling. You want both. You're torn, and it's okay to feel conflicted." "Is it? Because all I see is how I might mess everything up," she confessed. "What if this opportunity makes me leave you and the community? What if everything falls apart if I pursue this?" Jake stopped walking, his eyes searching hers with fierce intensity. "Sarah, it sounds like you're worried about losing something that's important. But think about it this way: what if pursuing this opportunity actually enhances what we're creating? What if it brings more to us, instead of less?" She took a moment to absorb his words, the cool evening air dancing around them as soft gusts brushed against her skin. "I want to believe that. What if we take it step by step? If your mentor is really offering you something worth it, then it's not about leaving here, it's about expanding your canvas." She blinked, processing the idea. "Expand rather than escape. You think it can work that way?" "I know it can. Don't let fear dictate your future." He smiled, a warmth radiating from him. "But remember, this is your journey, ultimately. Just know, whatever you choose, I'm in your corner." Sarah didn't know how to respond. The world felt impossibly bigger now, the choices stretching out like branches of a great tree. But his support gave her courage, each word pulling her back from the edge of her doubts. As they resumed walking down the path, her phone buzzed again. A flicker of dread passed through her. Another message from her mentor. Or something else she wasn't ready for. She opened her phone, heart pounding, and read the message. There on the screen, something entirely different waited: an invitation to a discussion about the project she'd been dreaming of. "Okay," she whispered, her mind racing with possibilities. "This is it. I have to reply." Jake glanced at her, an eyebrow raised. "What are you thinking?" "I'm going to keep my options open." She took a deep breath, filled with a rush of mixed emotions: fear, excitement, hope. "But I'll talk to you about everything, every step of the way." His eyes softened, and she could almost see the sense of relief wash over him. "That's all I can ask. Just promise you'll never forget this moment while you're chasing those dreams. Promise." Just then, laughter erupted from the direction they had come, children cheering and running toward them. Sarah turned her head, a smile creeping back onto her face. For now, she would embrace this moment: the joy of the community, the laughter, and Jake by her side. But as the children enveloped them, she couldn't shake the feeling that this moment was just the beginning. And there was so much more ahead, waiting just beyond the horizon. "Let's get back to the kids," she said, holding on to Jake's hand tightly, unable to ignore the feeling that they were on the cusp of something even bigger than before. As they walked toward the laughter, Sarah could only think one thing: how would the choices she was about to make shape their future together? The sun set behind the community center, casting a warm golden hue over the gathering where children played excitedly around the tables. Sarah and Jake reached the heart of the chaos where laughter filled the air. Plenty of buzz surrounded the bake-off planning, but the thoughts about her career opportunity lingered like a faint shadow in her mind. "Sarah. Jake. Over here." Miss Johnson waved energetically, motioning them over. The excitement was infectious, and Sarah felt her nerves ease, if only for a moment. "All right, team, let us get this bake-off rolling," Miss Johnson announced, her face glowing with enthusiasm. Hands shot up from the kids, each one eager to contribute. Jake leaned in closer to Sarah. "See? This is what it's all about," he said, a spark returning to his eyes. The fear she had seen flickering there earlier seemed to fade in the midst of the children's eagerness. Yes, but Sarah hesitated, the thoughts about her career return, swirling around her. "What if I can't manage both?" "Hey, we'll find a way," he reassured her. "If this is important to you, then it's important to me. Together we pivot, like these kids in a game, right? Adapt and keep moving." His confidence sparked a flicker of hope in her heart. As the teams formed, the room filled with creative ideas. Ideas bounced around, growing in volume. "I'll bake cookies. My mom's recipe is the best," a girl said, her face lighting up with determination. "Let us make cupcakes shaped like our favorite toys," yelled another child. The happiness was contagious, and even Sarah couldn't help but smile, lost in the joy of the moment. Jake took the opportunity to jot down notes, paying attention to every suggestion from the kids, his previous tension melting away. "All right, who can tell me their favorite ingredient?" he asked playfully. The wave of responses came flooding in sprinkles, chocolate chips, peanut butter, each one more creative than the last. With each moment, Sarah felt the space around her brighten. They were truly building something special here, not just overseeing a project, but creating a legacy based on community and connection. Hours flew by, laughter ringing throughout the center like little bells. Finally, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky a soft pink, the kids began to tire. They sprawled on the floor, some giggling, others dreaming about the bake-off with sleepy smiles. "I can't believe how much they've contributed," Sarah said, shaking her head in wonder as she sat beside Jake, her heart swelling with pride. "This project truly matters." Jake's gaze softened. "And it matters because of you. I see it every time you talk about it." The sincerity in his voice made her cheeks flush with warmth. Just as Sarah opened her mouth to respond, her phone buzzed again, harder this time. She looked down to see an alert about her mentor's plans for the project meeting, confirming the date and time. It felt like a reminder of the world she was stepping into. Jake glanced over, noticing the shift in her mood. "Hey, everything all right?" Sarah wrestled with the conflict rising within her. "It's just I received another message. They want to discuss specifics, moving forward, and do you want me to help you prepare?" His offer wrapped around her like a lifeline. "You would? Even with everything going on, the bake-off?" "Absolutely. Let us tie it all together." Jake's sincerity flooded over any lingering doubts, and just like that, a new idea ignited in her soul. "Can we combine everything? Show what we're doing here with the bake-off and my work." Jake's eyes twinkled. "That's genius. We can use the event to showcase the community's spirit while highlighting how your skills can apply to this potential project. It all connects beautifully." "Yes." Sarah felt a jolt of excitement. Suddenly, this doubly challenging path didn't feel so daunting, it felt uplifting. "Let us make a plan tomorrow," Jake said with fervor. "We can create a presentation that links all this together, the impact, the community involvement. It'll be perfect." Together, they combated the fear darting around in Sarah's chest. With each word, she felt empowered by the support of this moment, bursting forth with energy. Maybe she could embrace this opportunity while nurturing the community she had grown to love deeply, alongside Jake. A balance between passion and purpose, corporate aspirations and heartfelt dedication. As the last wave of kids began to leave, Sarah turned towards Jake. "Thank you for being in my corner. I thought I would have to choose, but now it feels like I might not have to." His gaze was steady. "You don't have to pick just one. We can have it all, together." The resolve growing between them was electrifying, igniting a bond they knew was destined to evolve. Their visions intertwined, like roots of two trees shaded under the same sky. Hand in hand, they stepped out into the night air, a cool breeze brushing against them. Underneath the stars, Sarah felt the weight of uncertainty fade. Tomorrow would bring its challenges, but tonight there was joy, a blooming partnership, and together they would navigate whatever future awaited them. "Are we going to be okay?" Sarah asked softly, as they walked away from the community center. "Absolutely. Because now we're in this together," Jake replied, a reassuring smile on his face. "And together, we're unstoppable." As Sarah leaned into his warmth, she felt the bright future glowing ahead, the community, the connection, her dreams beautiful and intertwined like constellations flickering in the heavens above. And in that moment, she knew, they would make it, hand in hand, heart in heart. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share.